Hey friends, and welcome back to the podcast. Super excited today to talk to you about a topic that I've been really passionate about I've been aware of this topic for 20 years, but really probably aggressively passionate since my kids were small, and they're now about 15 and 13. So I am podcasting today from sunny Mexico, and I was just enjoying my podcast prep on my patio, surrounded by rainforest, but the birds were so dang loud, and it sounded pretty for a minute, and then it was so obnoxious. So now I've got my family kicked out of the room, and I'm having a Diet Coke, one of the toxic pleasures I enjoy regularly. But yeah, I want to have a conversation with you, and I want to create hope. I want to create ease, and I want to help you see ways that you can detox your life and better support your body. I really think our bodies right now are, with everything out there, under almost like a borderline chemical attack. I've had, in the last little while, we've had stuff where, I had a necklace. I always joke about my rash of 2025. I had a necklace from Old Navy. I've never reacted to stuff before. So either stuff is getting so much more toxic, or by cleaning up the toxicity in our home, I've created sort of this monster where my body's like, no, thank you, when it comes in contact with toxic things. So it's kind of interesting, even being on a holiday. We walk into the hotel the first day, they hand us these nice cold towels, and you're like, oh, beautiful, because you've been at a gross airport and sweaty. And then I put it on my face, and I'm like, what is in this? Right? Some sort of probably sanitizer or something. And it was gross. So this is where I want to just get you questioning what you do right now and thinking about ways you can kind of upgrade that. So definitely something I'm excited about. So before we get into all the practical swaps, though, I want to just say this up front. We'll touch on this lightly, not because there isn't a lot to say, because trust me, if I started listing chemicals, loopholes, and all of the questionable ingredients hiding in all of our everyday products, we'd be here all day. And we're not even getting into food today, because that's a whole other universe of its own, probably the one I'm actually the most passionate about, but I don't want to overwhelm you. I want to save you some money, and cleaner products aren't cheap. And especially when I get into the skincare stuff, the stuff that I'm making for myself is literally so easy that I feel dumb when I go to make you guys a YouTube or an Instagram video on it, because it's so simple that I feel like it doesn't need a video. So I'm going to share some great recipes with you and kind of the research behind them, as well as where they sit on the comedogenic scale, so you know that they won't clog your pores and stuff like that. So we'll kind of go into that sort of stuff. But you don't have to pay an arm and a leg. And especially when I started using a lot of these products, I was going to places kind of like a Bulk Barn or a Nutter's. I didn't have Amazon. And now it's so easy to buy stuff on Amazon. So that's a real treat as well. Obviously, I prefer to buy it locally whenever I can, if I can afford it. But if it's something I can get easily on Amazon, I'm always checking the source as well, the country that it comes from, because maybe I don't want to put their stuff on my face, Lots of things to think about, but we'll try to keep it simple and give you some hope. So you shouldn't have to pay a premium to avoid toxins. That's how I've felt for years. And instead of drowning you in science, I'm going to give you some simple, affordable products you can make at home. Things that nourish your skin, lower your toxic load, and actually support your hormones instead of confusing them. Can I get an amen? And we don't need more things confusing our already fragile hormonal ecosystem. So this is detoxing, but in the most realistic, budget-friendly way possible. So I really hope you get some tangible things you can, some changes you can make to your skincare, your home, and your life in general to make it a little less toxic. But like I said, I pray this is the gateway to get you thinking, to get you questioning, to create doubt in the products you have now. So if you had told me 10 years ago that I'd become the woman scanning, product labels, I want to say throwing out half my bathroom cabinet, but I never did that. I would add things and then let things expire by 5 years and then finally throw them out, because it felt wasteful. And yet I would get creeped out after I'd buy something and then I'd use it a few times and I was like, ooh, this just feels like it's probably not good for me. I'd hang on to it, but I should have just thrown it out. But I wouldn't have thought I'd become the person making my own skincare. I would have laughed. and this is funny, I think, I have always loved fragrance. I sold scented candles from Party Light for like 4 years, and I was really good at it. I loved their candles. And I still love candles. I've taken to making my own. But I shouldn't say I don't like the unempowered term of like, I can't afford beeswax candles, but I don't like how they burn because I feel like a candle snob. Like I'm a candle connoisseur, and I learned candles. I have snuffers. I have multiple snuffers. I trim the wicks. I don't blow them out. I'm a real candle snob. So anyways, I still love all that, but I've had to find my own way, to use candles and to, make some of my own, because I don't want to pay $45 for a beeswax pillar. Although I do like the scent of those when they burn. But I loved scented candles, Gain laundry soap, bounce sheets are like my favorite. Anything that made something smell clean. And I remember that commercial, I think it was Tide, and they were like, I just washed it 5 days ago. And they're sniffing their towels in the cupboard, having everything smell good forever, even when it's dirty. And I remember thinking that with my towels, that if they still smelled perfumey, but I'd been using them for 6 days, that doesn't mean it's clean. That's even grosser. So I would encourage you to think like, what are we masking? And for those of us who are, well, Erin and I specifically, we are always trying to get our sweat stink out of our Lulus and things like that the natural way. Or I use a lot of borax and I use a lot of vinegar in my laundry. I don't use any fabric softeners anymore, but we have to work hard to get that stink out. So for those of you who are just using a lot of these laundry soaps, that stink is still in there. Make no mistake, it's not out. It's just masked, which is really creepy because the people that I know that are using these are nice, not gross ladies, right? Who don't want to think of stuff as being dirtier and being masked. So I also thought that people who declared things fragrance-free zones were dramatic and self-absorbed. And I didn't understand why they couldn't just deal. Even probably 2 or 3 years ago, someone stayed in our Airbnb, and we had in the back corner on the shelf Swiffer the wet stuff for the floor. And we had bounce sheets. We didn't use them, but we had them there for people who wanted to do laundry. And this lady was like, I'm very sensitive. And she bagged everything up, and we were eye rolling her when we went down there and cleaned. And then it was just recently, probably a year and a half ago, that I changed the laundry soap that we use for our Airbnb as well. And mostly because it was annoying to have 2 kinds of soap, because my stuff doesn't really smell at all. It has an essential oil scent in it or something, but you can barely smell it. And so it hit a point though where I would go to Airbnbs, and if the stuff was, Downy Unstoppables, Lord help me, I couldn't even, I would get a headache as soon as I put my head down. And so I started, making some of those switches for our Airbnb. And it makes sense. When you go to a hotel, the bedding doesn't really smell. It doesn't smell bad. It's nothing. And that's really what our bed sheets should be. Either the lightest fragrance, but nothing aggressive, right? And so I think it's interesting that I've come so full circle on it, and that now I'm that lady who wishes for scent-free zones. But this all started back in 2005. My friend Ryan Seifert, his mom Joy, she would tell Heidi and Amanda and I all about the toxins in stuff, and all the, she told us about the, the dirty dozen for organic, or not organic, but for vegetables and produce that really you needed to buy organic. She taught us all about that. And then she told us how they were finding parabens in breast cancer tumors. And I remember being like, what? And I feel like that was my first little hairline fracture in my trust of these big organizations, where I started to be like, what? Well, why would they put sodium lauryl sulfate in there if it's going to dry me out? Why would they add parabens if this is carcinogenic? Why? I was so innocent in my questioning, and I was burning all the Party Light candles, wearing my Dove deodorant, Clinique Happy, Bath and Body Works Mist candles, as many candles as I could get my hands on. And I'd like to think those chemicals back then were a little bit more gentle than they are now. But when you walk by some of those stores at the mall, like they're not. They're probably the same. But something in me changed. And then after I had Colston in 2013, my mom bought me Rainforest Mist from Bath and Body Works, and I thought it smelled so good. But every time I sprayed it, it would like literally take my breath away. Kind of like when you're a kid and you dip your finger in the icing sugar and then it sucks to the back of your throat. And because I'm the queen of curiosity, I started asking why. And around the same time, I had 2 young children, and I learned how toxic Johnson & Johnson baby products were. And I was shocked. And I started looking at like what's in my baby wipes. And there's like a reason. Well, maybe there isn't a reason, but our moms used like water and soap. And we've gone to all these modern conveniences that, like, there's a podcast that I really love. The guy's name is Darren O'Lean. Darren O'Lean wrote a book called Super Life. I highly recommend Darren's book. And he also was the creator of the Shakeology, the Beachbody protein mix, which is like, I took it to the naturopath probably in 2015, and she said it was like one of the best protein powders she'd ever seen or read about. Anyways, he has a whole podcast, and he talks about, what is it called now? Darren O'Lean's podcast is called Fatal Conveniences. And he talks in depth about all of the fatal conveniences. And it's so funny when you think of them that way, because we're like, oh, well, they're just conveniences, right? They were designed with us in mind, but they're really hard on our bodies. And so I started thinking, you know, if I'm noticing all these things as soon as I look, like, what's in all the stuff I'm not looking at? And so inside a lot of these products for babies, they had talc powder. It was really harmful, synthetic fragrances, harsh preservatives, hormone disruptors, and they've had decades of lawsuits. And it became clear that you can't assume a product is safe just because a giant company made it. If anything, the opposite is likely true. And that was a big wake-up call. Simple, recognizable ingredients are easier to trust. And it's funny because I know some people who automatically trust big companies, big pharma, and side-eye anyone doing things the natural way, as if making your own deodorant is suspicious. But buying a chemical blend from $1 billion corporation is perfectly rational. And they've said things to me, and I've learned now to just be quiet, because I don't need to pick a fight with anybody. I don't really, I can't say I don't care what they do, because I do care. I really care about this, but I just have to let people do whatever they want. And if they don't feel curious in life about all these things that I'm curious about, that's their choice. So learning to talk about it and to shut up the rest of the time is what I'm trying to do. But I really think the logic is backwards. Big companies have shareholders, marketing teams, profit goals, and entire departments dedicated to cutting costs. Natural living doesn't have a PR team. It has people paying attention, people reading labels, people opting out of unnecessary chemicals because they actually care what goes on their skin and in their homes. So if anything, the people doing it the natural way are the ones thinking critically. Blind trust in corporations that have been caught hiding ingredients, minimizing risks, and prioritizing profit over safety, that's the strange part. So the story begins. About 10 years ago, for the first time in my life, I thought, like, what is in all of these products? So it was 2013 or 2015, and I grew up trusting labels. If it was on the shelf, it was safe. If everyone used it, it must be fine. And fragrance was just fragrance, a pretty smell. And except it wasn't. And I remember season 1 of this podcast, my cousin Shannon Morgenstern, naturopath, she came on and talked about this, and she was really trying to get me to give up some of these things still. And this was in like 2020. So this was 5 years ago, and I was still hanging on to some of those fragrances. And I remember her saying, anything with parfum or fragrance in it, you do not want. And so I set out, I want to say in 2021, that was one of my goals, was to detox my home. I'd already been working for years on our food. And now my passion, the things that make me the most angry in the last year are all the preservatives and things like my mayonnaise. Like, why are you adding dye to my relish? Like, no one cares that relish is like the brightest green possible. There are so many things that just make me so mad because I don't want to make my own mayo. Your homemade mayo is the most delicious mayo of all time, but like, I don't want to make homemade mayo. I don't want to make homemade relish. I just want to have it without EDTA and without green dye. And it's really impossible. You can't find a mayo except that chosen avocado mayo, which I don't like, without the EDTA in it. So I do have to make it myself or get over myself and just have it with those chemicals in it. But I had this realization. I wasn't even totally detoxing my home yet. I wasn't totally researching ingredients. I was just living my life, buying what I'd always bought. And then I learned this one fact that changed everything. The word fragrance can legally contain hundreds, even thousands of unlisted chemicals. And companies don't have to tell you what they are. So that's like the first real crack in the wall 10 years ago. So I made tiny changes. I swapped a few synthetic fragrances for essential oils. And once you pull one loose thread, the whole sweater starts unraveling, right? So it was a slow evolution. One thing leads to another. I'm looking at baby stuff. I'm starting to think about my own stuff. First, like I said, what I was putting on the kids, then sort of what I was putting on myself. Then I would look kind of at makeups at Sephora and different things and you know, work with my friend Amanda, who's in that industry, looking at fresh cosmetics and different things to figure out what was going to be best for me. Then it was laundry detergent, then cleaning products. And you start to realize that the things that I was putting on my skin every single day weren't harmless. They were chemical cocktails I never questioned. And I wouldn't eat most of those ingredients, so why am I okay absorbing them through my skin? So then I started making my own skincare. I had a little party with my friends Angie and Jenna. Shouts out to them. And Jenna made all three of us a hair mask. Angie made us deodorant. And I made us body butter. And I have made that body butter now for the last 10 years, as well as the deodorant. I am so hooked on those products that I've made. And so I didn't want to start making my own skincare. I didn't want to be crunchy or homesteady, but it was because it felt empowering to know exactly what was in it. And I found the Yuka app. This was actually here. I'm going to pop back and forth. I'm not really going to carry a good timeline in this episode, but I found the Yuka app, I think probably in like 2023. And I started scanning products everywhere I went. So I'd go to Winners, I would scan a product. I would scan it at the grocery store. It's a company out of Australia, I think. And I was going through everything just to determine what was in all of these products that I love. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I realized it wasn't just about fragrance anymore. It was about the daily chemical exposure in my home. And there are a lot of forever chemicals. And it sounds dramatic until you realize they literally stay in your body and the environment for decades. So everything started changing because I had to change it. So I'm not here to scare you. I don't believe in fear-based living, but I do believe in informed living. And the average home contains hundreds of synthetic chemicals, from air fresheners, laundry products, skincare, cleaning supplies, even furniture. And most of us never question it before we were taught, because we were taught. And most of us never question it because we were taught if it's on the shelf, it's safe. If other people buy it, it's fine. If the label doesn't warn you, don't worry. And the word fragrance is a legal loophole. The daily exposure, even in tiny amounts, adds up. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to purge your whole house tonight, but you need to become conscious. So I want to start with some big exposures. So one is like laundry detergent, right? Because everything we're washing our clothes in, that is like a hug on our biggest organ, our skin, right? And so I use the Makeover laundry detergent, but this is one you're going to have to research depending on where you live and get to the bottom of what's in your laundry detergent. Now, my friend Kristen Foglia has an amazing recipe, which I have yet to make it. And it's with washing soda and baking soda and borax. And I think she grinds up a Castile soap bar in it as well to make it smell really good. And she says it works like a charm. And so thank you to Kristen for kind of opening my eyes to that. She also gave me a recipe for dishwasher detergent, which I'm not going to get into today because I don't have that recipe with me. But reach out to me if you want those. I actually thought today I really wanted to go more over personal care products instead. But yes, I have been using my own homemade dishwasher detergent for about 6 to 8 months now, and putting vinegar and water in my rinse aid compartment of my dishwasher, and really finding that my stuff is a lot cleaner than it was using Cascade before. And then I've made my own homemade stain remover, which is just, so this next little bit here, I'm going to list out some recipes for you. My stain remover is so simple. I buy a 3-pack on Amazon of hydrogen peroxide bottles, and then you literally dump 1 hydrogen peroxide bottle into a spray bottle, and you add 1 teaspoon of Blue Dawn and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and you shake it, and that stuff, it will, I got beets on the floor in front of my sink recently, and I left it for 2 days, and then was like, why is there pink on this carpet? And I sprayed it with my spray remover, and it just faded out. One day I was changing the shower curtain in my son's bathroom, and I didn't know I had a cut on my knuckle, and every time I put, the shower curtain on the hook, I left a blood mark. I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't realize till I got to the end, and I sprayed it, and it all came out. It was incredible. So this stuff removes cherry juice. I think it does wine as well. But definitely beets, blood, it comes out like nothing. It fades right out of there. So just the best stain remover ever. For greasy stains, I always use Nellie's stick, or since you bought that Blue Dawn to make your homemade stain remover, you could just put Blue Dawn onto, say you get peanut butter or olive oil in a shirt, just rub in some Blue Dawn. I don't use Blue Dawn in my kitchen sink. I also use Ecovert, and my mom and my mother-in-law have been annoyed at that for years because I can't keep bubbles in my sink while I'm doing dishes. And I put 4 pumps in. So yeah, I do use a lot more, but I feel good about it. Especially when I'm doing it in hot water, which means the pores of my hands are open, absorbing whatever's in that water, right? So I don't want it to be synthetic stuff, if possible. So let's talk about my favorite topic, personal skincare. So your skin is your largest organ. My body butter recipe, a lot of you have made this recipe, and it is 1/2 cup each of shea butter, coconut oil, cocoa butter, olive oil, and you just melt it in a double boiler and then cool it in the fridge. And then I get out the hand beaters, and I beat it till it's about doubled in size, and then I put it in jars from the dollar store, put it in the fridge. And so I keep one in my bedroom. I have one with me on every holiday, so I have some small jars for taking on trips, and it is so wonderful. So this recipe itself will strengthen your skin barrier, reduce dryness and inflammation. It's naturally antimicrobial. It has antioxidants in it. It doesn't have any synthetic fragrance or preservatives. It has some mild natural UV support as well. It's good for your hormone health, and it's multi-use and affordable. So I put this on skin irritations that kids have. I put it on cuts that we, almost like a polysporin days after. It is just, we put that shit on everything. We truly do. It is such beautiful, beautiful cream. So we've been using that for 10 years and loving it. And I really find that once I started using it, even in the sun in the summer, I would burn far less. So it's very good that way. Then my natural deodorant is 5 tablespoons coconut oil, 1 tablespoon baking soda, 6 tablespoons arrowroot flour, 2 tablespoons bentonite clay, and then essential oils, which are optional. So I like to mix in, I used to use purification oil from Young Living. That's my favorite pit stick scent, but I don't want to buy that anymore because it's overpriced and kind of unreasonable, and I don't buy blends of oils from anywhere. I buy oils and I mix them myself, and then I can use them for lots of other purposes. So I like cedarwood, bergamot, and patchouli in my armpits. I don't know why. I like my armpits to smell sort of citrusy if I don't have something that has kind of like that Aveda scent. So you do have to be careful with essential oils though, because some of those oils can irritate your skin, right? This has the coconut oil in there as a carrier oil to begin with, But yeah, you do have to be a little bit more sensitive. And baking soda can be hard on some people's armpits. In this recipe, 1 tablespoon doesn't seem to cause any problems. The people that I know that have been sensitive and have used this, they've been fine. If you want to buy one that's like, I swear it is exactly the same recipe. My friend Amanda uses it. It's from the company Routine. And I do believe they sell that at Sephora. So I swear it is my exact recipe in a jar. And the coconut oil kills odor-causing bacteria. The baking soda neutralizes odor. The arrowroot absorbs sweat. Arrowroot flour actually acts like, it almost makes it silky, like how a deodorant is kind of silky, like a Dove or whatever. Bentonite clay detoxes. And then we've got no fragrances, preservatives, no aluminum, and no chemicals. So just a real win there. I will say, like, when you're going really hard in a workout, now I actually, like, if I'm at home working out and I'm just going to go have a shower after, like, I don't need pit stick, right? I just want to let the sweat pour out of my body. When I get in my sauna, I don't like to have, if possible, this doesn't always happen, but if possible, I don't like to have makeup on, pit stick on, nothing. I just want the sweat to pour out and not be stopped in any way. So I do think you're smart to not have any at sometimes. Like, it's fine. Like, we're human, right? Like, we don't always smell perfect, and that's real life. So I mix beeswax and shea butter into, like, I melt it in a double boiler again, and then put it in little silicone muffin cups, and then I freeze them. And I just put those on my bedside table for my hands and for my heels. And that one is really incredible because the beeswax provides a breathable barrier that locks moisture in. And the shea butter is deeply nourishing and repairing for your feet or your hands. So I felt like my body butter didn't quite do the trick for my hands and feet. It didn't create that barrier. I think that's what the difference is. So this is the holy grail for cracked feet, dry hands, and eczema. One of my friends tried this a few years ago, and she has terrible eczema on her hands in the winter, and it took her eczema. Like, she could not get over it. And I said, it must be the beeswax. But together, these two ingredients soothe inflammation, protect the skin, and actually help heal it. So very powerful. Now, I would say you're looking at a ratio of 2 ounces of beeswax to like 3/4 of a cup of shea butter, because I've done it where I had too much beeswax and it felt like, especially on my hands, like it was pulling my skin because it was too, if you get too much beeswax, it makes it really, you have to really warm it up to get it to go onto your skin. So now this one I'm super excited about. So I bought a face oil the year I turned 40. And before that I was always using, just probably my Fresh Cosmetics, like lotions and stuff, which I do love. And they are very clean. As far as an option that you purchased at the store. So I definitely recommend Fresh Cosmetics from Sephora. But I decided I wanted to try a face oil. I'd been given a gift card from a friend for my 40th birthday, and I bought a $25 bottle of face serum, I think they called it. And it was gone really fast because apparently I like to use an aggressive amount of oil on my face and neck. And I looked at the ingredients on the side of it, and I was like, $25 for this? Like, I just feel like I could do this myself. And so I started experimenting with that a few years ago. So I take a little eyedropper bottle and I fill it with jojoba oil, apricot seed oil, castor oil, because I put that on everything too. I feel like it's such a next level healer. Squalene and frankincense oil. Now, squalene itself, you know that feeling of the DEET bug spray from back in the day where it's like oil, but it's dry? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. So a lot of these oils on their own are kind of weird. Squalene is really good to keep moisture in your skin, but it has a really strange texture. Now, castor oil, people do say they don't think you should put that. Some people say don't put it on your face. Some people say put it on your forehead when you have a headache. Like, there's different theories around that. So you can leave the castor oil out. I made it for a long time without castor oil. Castor oil also does technically help you grow thicker eyelashes, eyebrows, possibly some chin hairs. I don't know. But I do love it with. So, I mean, definitely you can leave it out. years ago when I was pregnant, my skin felt so dry in the winter in Alberta, and I would cover my face with coconut oil. And pretty soon I had so much melia under my eyes. I still have it. I need to get some of it taken off by a dermatologist, but I clogged those pores really badly. And that was because coconut oil on the comedogenic scale is a 5. So, and 5 is the top of the scale. So these numbers together, just so that you know that you are safe to put this on, it's not going to clog your pores. The jojoba and the apricot seed oil both register as a 2. The castor oil is a 1. And the squalene and frankincense are a 0. So you aren't going to clog your pores with a face oil like this. But I was calculating before I did this episode, I bought all of my ingredients for my face oil recently. And I calculated that it cost me about $75 to buy all of these ingredients. And it was so cool because that will probably last me 2 years, I would say. And I filled up my face oil the other day. It's already half gone. Like, I use it so fast. So what I love about it, though, is this is actually productive and protective skincare. So jojoba is almost identical to your skin. I can't talk today. To your skin's natural sebum. So it actually helps balance oil production instead of fighting it. And apricot seed oil is loaded with vitamin A, C, and E, giving you that antioxidant protection and helping with that brightness and skin tone that's so important as we age. And then, like I said, castor oil is my secret weapon, deep healing, naturally antifungal and antibacterial, and incredible for barrier repair. And then squalene, that weird dry feeling, that kind of weird oil, is basically like liquid youth. It's lightweight, fast absorbing, and clinically known to support elasticity and smooth fine lines. So frankincense on top of that has been used for centuries for its skin regenerating and anti-inflammatory benefits. So you've got a formula that actually supports collagen, softens texture, and helps your skin age gracefully. No weird byproducts, no paying $200 or, being out of it all the time because you use an aggressive amount. So it's hydrating, calming, barrier repairing, glow boosting, and it's not going to clog your pores. So it's simple, it behaves like an anti-aging serum, and it also is edible if you decided you wanted to eat it. So talking a little bit more about shampoos, toothpaste, and stuff like that. Now, for shampoos, I'm still experimenting. I care so much what my hair looks like, and I have not found my ride or die hair products. My friend Erin loves, I think it's Tallu, Tallu from Vancouver. Mint Cleaning is also coming out with a shampoo as well. They've probably already come out with it because I think Erin was researching it. Now at mintcleaning.com, you can use Jody15 at checkout for 15% off, just so that you know. And I love the Mint Cleaning products for my home. I just find I'd rather make some of my own stuff and use vinegar and lemon oil and stuff like that in my house because I actually don't really think I need made products. Like, I really just don't think I need it. But if you are wanting to buy stuff, the Mint Cleaning products are beautiful. They really, really are. And those girls are so freaking funny. They're also, I have an episode with them in season 3 of the podcast from like kind of when they were midway famous. Now they're pretty famous, which is super cool. And then, yeah, like cleaning, like vinegar microfiber and simple spray works wonders, right? And getting rid of those candles in the house, swapping them out for some soy candles and stuff like that is really helpful. My favorite toothpaste is now Hello from Superstore. I bought like 5 tubes of it after I tried it once because I couldn't get over how good it was. My kids have used every sort of weird toothpaste under the sun and like hated them. And that's a tough one. And it's in a mucous membrane. Like anything you're putting in your privates or in your mouth, like you got to be so careful with what you're putting in those mucous membrane areas because everything is so quickly absorbed into our bloodstream, right? So some benefits that I noticed from changing these things in my life, my skin feels way softer, smoother, nourished. The air we breathe feels better. We get fewer headaches. Skin's improving. No more random symptoms. I feel like our home smells cleaner naturally. And mentally, I just feel clearer. And I think the big picture is detoxing your home is really about being intentional with your dollars. Like, do not support companies that don't have the same values as you whenever you can, right? And then lowering that daily toxic load. So every choice counts. Don't downplay your choices. Recognize you can make even a slightly better choice every time you make a choice. And realize that you actually can control your environment. Most women start with one little change and end up slowly transforming everything because feeling empowered is super addictive. So if it feels overwhelming, hear me clearly. You don't have to start making your own moisturizer tomorrow. Just start with one thing. Read a label. If you're at Sephora, look for the clean label. Get the Yuka app, Yuka, and start scanning products. I scan everything at Winners. That was actually where I discovered the squalene oil. I've never heard of squalene oil. And then I scanned it at Winners, and it got 100 out of 100. I was like, what? So I bought it, and then messaged my friend Teresa. It's good to have women in your life who go before you and are also crazy and do all this stuff that you're so pumped every time you talk to them. And she's like, oh yeah, squalene's like the best oil, and it's super expensive. That's a good deal. So I love friends like that I can have those conversations with, and they've done some of the research for me as well, which is great. But start with one thing. Read a label, swap one product when it runs out, download one app, make one improvement this month, and then start asking questions about the other things that you haven't thought about before. Whether it's your face soap, your hand soap. My hand soap, I use Castile hand soap mixed with water. So it's like at the bottom of, I use Dr. Bonner's, which I thought was Dr. Boner's. Just kidding, I didn't think that, but I wanted to say it because it's funny. Dr. Bonner's, and I bought 3 soap pumps off Amazon for foaming hand soap. And I think at Christmas I add some peppermint oil into my soap pump so it smells Christmassy. Like, you can still do that. You can still have some of those scents. I do think we're probably, like, our hormones are probably a little bit less disrupted without extra scents in general, because your hormones do have a reaction to all scents, even essential oils. That's like a tale for another time. But I do think you can play around with some of that stuff. And so when we're washing our hands all the time, that's what we're using, is a little peppermint oil and some Castile soap and water. It's so simple. But for some reason, we got so complicated and so pulled into everything out there in the world, and we don't need to be. So your home is one environment you can control, and all your small changes will start to make a landslide of difference. So if you want, next time we can talk about more non-toxic products that I love, swaps that made the biggest difference, and mistakes I made along the way. But I started as someone who thought fragrance-free policies were ridiculous. Look at me now. So I hope this gives you some hope and some courage to try some new things. And yeah, thanks so much, guys. God bless you and have a great day.